Oh my gosh, hi! Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I've got my chat open, and let me just make sure everybody's in from the waiting room. Yay! Okay, wonderful. Before we get started, I'm just taking a moment to get grounded myself. I'm so appreciative to those of you who are able to join live, and of course, if you're joining via the recording, welcome. Please consider taking notes of some kind. One, because it helps you retain anything important that you want to reference later and help that stick a little better. And two, because after this meeting, this circle, I'll be asking what your takeaways are. And that has dual purpose as well, or many purposes as well. One is so that you are more likely to take action on the things that you might commit to during our conversation together. And also because it's important for me to know what's resonating with you, because otherwise I won't know. Yeah. As much as it may seem like, of course, Stephanie knows. No, Stephanie has no idea. Stephanie has very little idea about all kinds of things. All right. Thank you for letting me get that set up. Oh, and I'm just letting in a couple more people from the waiting room. Yay! Oh, there's more. Like trying not to let in note takers, but also trying to let in people that are actually here. Awesome. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yay! Wonderful. Okay, so today we're discussing 5 practical steps to radical action. And what does that mean? 5 practical steps to radical action. One of the biggest obstacles I find to continued engagement, social or civic or environmental or spiritual or otherwise, is a feeling of aloneness. And I'm so delighted that we're gathered here to combat that together. It is an illusion. Aloneness is always an illusion. However, it is a prevailing and very sticky one. So we'll manage, hopefully, to get ourselves sort of sorted together and anchor in the feeling of being connected. The 5 steps have steps themselves. Here they are all at once so that you can wrap your brain around where you're headed, where we're headed for this hour together. One is ways to gather, online and off. 2 is know your neighbors, whether that's your digital community or the neighbors around you geographically. 3 is food and supply distro. That is getting resources to those who need it. This is physical, and the non-in-person kind of stuff will be more like other kinds of in-kind donation and resource distribution, such as monetary donations. 4, trace the root. This has to do with your everyday actions and something that I call the sacred mundane. That is, how are the things that you're doing on a daily basis supporting and nourishing the trunk and branches and leaves, right? By tracing the root down to what you're grounded in on a daily basis, trace the root. And number 5, learn in community. That's part of what we're doing right now, and part of what I invite you to continue doing offline and beyond this circle. So I'll go through these one by one. Before I do that, though, opening the chat for a moment, please let me know anything that you're interested in me covering during our time together. And that might be something that you want me to discuss. It might be something that you want created in future pieces of content. I might just give you like a recommendation for accounts that I like to follow, or educational resources that I keep in my back pocket for when I need them. All right, so I'm happy to do that. I'm also delighted to have you all chatting with each other and sharing resources with each other that way. Okay. This is a form of mutual aid. What we're doing right now, just showing up for each other. Your presence here is a way of proving to yourselves and each other that we have each other's backs, that we are willing to share this kind of attention and energy with one another. And it always, always, always comes back because we continue to exist in ecosystem with one another. Transactions are for capitalist interaction. Reciprocity is maybe a bridge between transactionality and true ecosystem. And as we ground into what I think of as regenerative practices, more and more and more, I might think of ocean or mycelial network or cosmos, right? Where we have gravitational pull and we exist in a system, and there can be no universe without every single part, every single galaxy. This is an expanded metaphor here, pulling on each other as we are pulled on ourselves. Okay? So let's go through these things one by one. Again, 1, ways to gather. 2, know your neighbors. 3, supply distro. That's food, water, money, those kinds of things, distribution of resources. 4, trace the root. 5, learn in community. Let me see. Is there anything in the chat right now? Nothing in the chat right now. Ooh, we're gonna get this chat activated. This is my old school Stephanie, how to do a webinar kind of shit. Participate, bitch. Get in the chat. Get in the chat. Oh, Skylar just put her hands up. I did it. I promise I did it. Get in the chat. What do I mean by get in the chat? Hi, nice to see you. Where are you located? Where is your butt planted right now? What's your favorite color? String of emojis. Here's the deal. In any circle practice, and this is part of like friend gatherings that I host in my own home, and in the indigenous wisdom circles that I have the great privilege to sit within, everybody puts their voice into the space, whether that's singing your name or like clapping your hands is also considered your voice. It could be putting a gesture into the circle. You don't even have to use your actual voice or make any sound whatsoever. It is a contribution to the space. Think of this like showing up to a potluck empty-handed. You don't come to the, I mean, you know, resource allocation being what it is. If at all you can, show up in a way that is physically present in the space. I'm gonna read the chat now because that is super supportive for everybody. Okay. Hi Stephanie, hi everyone. Ooh, Skylar, I'm gonna save the rest of this question for when I scroll back up. Jake says, hi, so nice to see you. Ooh, also I'm gonna save this question for when I scroll back up. Thanks, Jake. Megan, I'm here. Skylar, I'm in NYC. Megan, my butt is in New Jersey. Lol. So glad we've all located your butt, Megan. Jake, Florida, 3 exclamation points. Maisie Lane, Puyallup Native Lands. Thank you for that, Maisie. Kate, hi, here from Catskill, New York. So glad to be with y'all. Jake, music note emoji. Rebecca, hi, I'm on Lenape land, New York's Hudson Valley. Teresa, Bellingham, Washington, USA, almost home from work. Yeva, I think, is that how you say your name? Yeva? Sort of. Okay, I'll get it. Thank you. On Vancouver Island. Wonderful. I am in a place governmentally known as Eva Beach. That is the West Moku of Oahu Island in Hawaii, the land of my birth and of 5 generations of my ancestors. In the beautiful home of my dear friend Ihileni, a Native Hawaiian woman who is my gracious host for this time that I am in Hawaii. Maisie Lane says, lots of Pacific Northwest people. Megan, I used to work at Waikele Center. Stop! So did I. Gagged. I love it. Welcome. Okie dokie. Now let's get into it. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so glad the chat's popping off. Yay, we activated it. Woohoo! Ways to gather. I'm just gonna make a big old list. And as I make this big old list, please pick, either pick one and claim it in the chat, or name a new one that I haven't mentioned that you would like to put in the chat. I'm gonna say all the ways to gather that I have pre-listed out, and then I'll tell you why gathering is important. Okay? I'm going to say all the things, and as you imagine yourself sitting in one of these gatherings, I will say why it's important. Okay. Crafting, and here we go, the big list. Crafting or mending circle. Like, bring your torn jacket and we'll mend our torn jackets together, that kind of thing. Local specialty store. So is this a bottle shop in a small mountain town? Is this a specialty bookshop that only has cookbooks in stock? Is this a fly fishing supply store that only carries handmade flies or lures or whatever the hell those are called? Like local specialty store as a gathering place. Okay. Improv group class. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm feeling some either delighted or cringy energy. Karaoke bar. Depending on where in the world you are, you might pronounce it karaoke. Karaoke bar. Okay. A summer camp for kids or for adults. Choose your own adventure. Um, awesome. I'm just reading the chat. Yay. Okay. Letter writing or sign making gathering. Letter writing or sign making gathering. Okay. Now that you've got a constellation of suggestions, put your own ideas in the chat, or if I said one that you really love, type that out and claim it for yourself in the chat. Brief pause while I wait for you to pick one. Gardening circle, PTA meeting, pay as you feel restaurant, improv group is so fun, agreed. I'm reading out of the chat now. Oh, thank you, Maisie. Maisie recently learned the term CKA for colonially known as place names. Nice. Art sharing in any form. Local playground. Lovely. Cafe or gallery. Awesome. Great. Okay. Little puzzle exchanges. Amazing. Board game party. TTRPG group. If you're not a nerd and you don't know what that means, it is a tabletop role-playing game group, like Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. Wonderful. All right. These ways to gather are crucial hubs of social engagement that have nothing to do with your profession or how you make money or how you gain status in the world of capitalism. Who are you outside of what capitalism has forced you to be? And where can you be that primarily? For many of us, it is work, maybe family or kids or elders, and sleep or TV and or other form of media consumption. Scrolling. I'm not saying that's wrong or bad. I'm saying that's what's normal and normalized. Where do you get to be something other than who and what you are to capitalism? And sometimes you can be that in the privacy of your own home. Sometimes it's a solo pursuit. I'm saying if this is not something that is taking up a lot of space on your calendar or even any space on your calendar, it's something that you might look at. Where can you be who you don't have to? Where can you be anything other than what you have to be in order to participate and survive in capitalism? Community choir. Community theater. Adult soccer. Like club sports, right? I have one, oh gosh, I was about to say I have a couple of lesbian neighbors. I have way more. Holy shit, I think I have like 6 lesbian neighbors. We're in an apartment building. It's a pretty small apartment building. There's 11 units. And I think 3 of them, definitely 2 of them are lesbian couples. I'm not sure about the others. Anyhow, they all play softball. And when one apartment of lesbian neighbors got into community softball, the other apartment of lesbian neighbors got into community softball, and now about half of us at a time will go to these community softball games to watch like 30, 40, and 50-year-old grown-ups play softball. And it's so sweet. We roll up with like Corona beers in Subarus, and we like make stupid signs, and we're just like woo, and they suck. They're terrible. And their team names are bad. They're terrible. They're all like 90s names, like the Little Rascals and shit. Like it's so cheesy. And we have a great time. And some of their families voted for Trump in the United States presidential election last year. And I don't care. I mean, obviously I do. I care a lot. But that doesn't impact who I get to be friends with and who I get to be in community with, because the reality is I share a wall with two of them and I share a floor with the other two of them. And that kind of relationship by proximity is something that's really important to me, because they are the ones that will check on me if there is an extended power outage, if there is a flood warning, if there's any other sort of disaster or emergency situation. They are the ones who might be willing to provide bottled water when I need some because I'm going to somewhere that they might not otherwise agree with, right? Like I'm going to a protest. And they're just like, here, take bottled water, stay hydrated, we care about you. Okay? I'm not saying set your politics aside and be friends with people that you don't want to be friends with. I'm saying that the essential nature of caring is tantamount to our collective survival. And there cannot be collective liberation without all of us. And does that lead to very, very, very uncomfortable situations? Sometimes, yes. And it also leads to the kind of beautiful connection that would not be able to happen otherwise. So, go with as dramatic of an imagined scenario as you like, stranded on a deserted island, tornado watch, whatever. That's not fanciful for some of us, right? If the people around you in proximity to you that share geographic location with you are not known to you, I have this in my notes, just fucking say hi. That's all you have to do. You don't have to make friends with them. You don't have to enjoy talking to them. You might end up at a softball game sitting with a group of lesbians, which is great. Testify. It's delightful. I had a great time. I continue to do so. You might just end up with someone who is willing to remind you begrudgingly that street sweeping is happening and your car is about to get ticketed. Connection will yield connection. That's it. That's it. That's all. That's my soapbox. Okay, so I have now, to recap our last few minutes, listed a number of ways to gather. We have additional ways to gather in the chat that I read out loud. And we have just discussed the importance of gathering for social reasons, or perhaps these are also spiritual reasons that stand outside the role type dictated to you by capitalism. When do you get to be someone other than who you are under capitalism, with other people being who they are outside their roles, the roles forced upon them under capitalism? Example, I am in a cast of 16 people, and we are performing the gayest version of Hamlet that has ever graced the face of the planet. So I am non-binary. I'm gender fluid, femme, and non-binary, and I am playing Hamlet, and our Hamlet is a non-binary Hamlet. Our Horatio is a trans man. Our ghost of King Hamlet is a drag queen, a literal drag queen. And these are not mentioned in the story, it's just who is playing the role. So we are various. Of the three that I mentioned, or of the entire cast, there's like a couple unemployed people, there are a couple of like very professional people, like nurses and shit. There are artists and entrepreneurs, there are school teachers, and we don't get to be, we don't have to be who we are in the outside world when we gather to make this art. So where can you have a place like that? Even if it's just being Just, right, big air quotes, just being one of the screaming fans at a community softball game. Yeah, or just being one of the interested and informed quote unquote customers, though you don't have to buy anything at the specialty cookbook store down the road. Okay, yeah. All right, that's ways to gather. That's number one. Number two, know your neighbors. This I put this one next to number one because I think it's along the same lines, and I started talking about it a little bit already. How to know your neighbors. I'll go through a list again, and then I'll talk about why this is important. Food share, opportunity, a way to know your neighbors. Food share, whatever that means to you. If you have an avocado tree, the avocado trees in Hawaii are fecund. It is like almost embarrassing. I'm just like, oh my god, girl, like you've got a lot of avocados. Damn, are you okay? Like, damn, she's just giving. Food share, because there's only so many smoothies before I get avocado related diarrhea. TMI, sorry. Parking situation. Yeah, parking, either parking share, or if there's a street parking situation, like there might be something there to have a conversation about. Landscape, similar. Do you share a tree that's on a property line and you can like clean up the leaves and branches together? Mail or newspaper or other kinds of deliveries. Is your neighbor sometimes not home and you want to bring in their grocery delivery or whatever so that it gets out of the hot sun or the snow, whatever the case may be? Trash and recycling, especially in bigger cities, that's a big deal. In the countryside, rural areas where things are more far apart, there might be a more in-depth conversation to have about like what the resources shared are with those kinds of services, but something to open up lines of communication is a possibility for sure. And then I have under here another note, verbatim from the last point, just fucking say hi. I have a dog that likes to be walked as much as possible, and so he's a pit bull, don't get me wrong, like we never go very far. He just wants to go sniff the outside in case anything's changed. So we go on walks and we say hi to everybody on our way out and on our way back in. Okay. On a kind of practical note, something to consider also is that if I miss a dog walk, those neighbors notice. So when I'm I'm based in Long Beach and I'm in Honolulu right now, or in Hawaii right now, when I go back, they'll be like, oh, how was your trip? Because they will note that they haven't seen me for a while. This means that if they don't see me for a long while, there might be like a check-in, like they might wonder, and being missed is a form of connection that I think not enough of us appreciate these days. Yeah, what it is to miss a stranger or a relative stranger. Okay, why is it important to know your neighbors? Resource sharing and disaster preparedness for sure, but also because this is one of the things that ties our connection to place that I think is being lost the more and more of our lives we prioritize online. One of the activists and political theorists that I learned greatly from has now deactivated his account, unfortunately. He went by Bad School, and he is originally based in Long Beach, is now in LA, and he got offline because he and his wife had their first child. So he's focusing his life around raising his child. But before he did that, he talked about the fall of clubs. The fall of clubs tracking the fall of democracy, even in representative democracies and democratic republics, like the United States, like the UK, and other places around the world that have representative democratic processes. When a club is basically a union, right? Like you can make decisions as a collective, like for the good of every member, right? There's some sort of investment that's expected of you. And the disbanding of clubs or the lack of popularity of clubs leads to a lack of civic engagement as well as social engagement. Why? What does this have to do with knowing your neighbors? Probably the people that are gathering in clubs with you have some sort of geographic proximity to you. Nobody's driving 100 kilometers to see you to learn how to make pottery. Like if you're in a club together, probably you share some sort of geographic resources, and that proximity is a resource. So knowing your neighbors, as wildly different as your interests might be, is a way to respect the land, because the land knows you. And that connection to land is irrefutable, because look at where you are. Yeah. Even if you look super different, your politics are super different, your values are super different, the land knows you as close, literally close. And if you choose to stay where you are choosing that closeness. Even though you might swear up and down, like, Stephanie, I do not choose these people. Well, the land knows you as close. And can you respect that relationship, the relationship of proximity? One of my favorite poets, I highly recommend her work, is Dr. Jamaica Osorio. Dr. Jamaica Osorio is a Native Hawaiian poet and activist. She visited, not that this is a feather in her cap, but she is the poet laureate that visited the White House during Barack Obama's presidency, and read her poetry at that gala. And she teaches that aloha isn't straight. And does that mean queerness? Yes, and more. That the fundamental nature of aloha is of love, of respect and care and honor. It means so much more than love. Is not person to person necessarily. Aloha goes to aina, goes to land. And from that land, that love of land, that love, honor, and respect of land, I get to know you because of your honor, love, and respect of land. So aloha aina is where we meet, is where our love touches. Not straight as in person to person, but down and in to the land. That is where our loves touch. I'm just going to let that sit for a while as you imagine your love going down and in, and others around you's loves going down and in, and the web of connection that image opens up for us. So when I say know your neighbors, I don't just mean like know their names and what they're interested in and if they're an asshole or not. I mean honor them for sharing space with you, for sharing geography with you. And if that means never saying more than hi to them because otherwise you feel like you're going to get in a fight, that too is love, respect, and honor. Does that make sense? Yeah. Don't do anything unsafe. But do be willing to be uncomfortable. Awesome. Oh, a great book. Thank you for this in the chat. A great book on the decline of clubs and its impact on U.S. civil society and democracy. Amazing. Bowling Alone. Stop. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on. Food/supply distro. So online, there's infinity places where you can donate monetary resources, cash. I trust you to do what you need to do to vet the places where you're donating to. My word of support in that direction is I find a balance of donating to organizations and donating directly to the people that need it. Like, I do both. And I, depending on the situation, will put more of my resources in one or the other direction. Okay? So like direct aid to a family in Gaza does more, like my dollars will probably do more for that family than my dollars will do in an organization that will then distribute aid. However, I can't research 100 different families. So there's a push-pull of what I can do, right, with my money and what I can do with my research and vetting, and scams abound. I'm just going to say that because I think we all know that's true too. And my other note is don't shit on yourself for not being able to make every single decision. Like, it's okay. In Hawaii, I donate to the Hawaii People's Fund because they support a lot of the organizations that I would fund if I had $1 million to give away. Okay, so that that's resource distribution. Food and supply distribution. I put this number 3 on the list because it is a wonderful way to know your neighbors and also to gather. Okay, one of my dear friends in Long Beach is the founder of an organization called Hello Daisy Made, which I recommend that you follow if you're at all interested in the online or in person in Long Beach entrepreneur space. So there's two. Hello Daisy Made has an online thing anywhere in the world you can join. And if you're local to Long Beach, Tracy Pendergast does live meetups. Oh, okay. Bye, Cheryl. Thank you so much for coming. Um, Tracy will regularly go to Costco and put bottles of water, like cases of bottled water, into her minivan where she does like pickup for her 2 kids. And if she sees someone, especially during the summer in Southern California, that could use some bottled water, our unhoused population in Long Beach is pretty high. She'll just pull over and hand some bottled waters out the car window and keep it moving. It sounds basic. Yeah, it really makes a difference. I do the same thing when I'm on dog walks. I'll have an extra like thing of snack, like a snack pack, whatever, like protein bar or bottled water or whatever in a backpack, and I'll pass stuff out. So much so that some of the unhoused neighbors will be like across the street and they'll be like, hey. Some of them will say hi to my dog, whose name is Toaster, because that's a memorable name or whatever. Oh, bye, Maisie. Thank you. Just something to consider. If you can't give anything, give regard, give hello, give acknowledgement. One of the things that exacerbates the challenges of not having a house, not having a place to go, is being ignored. And if you've ever been pissed off because somebody's not listening to you when you're trying to say something, can you imagine if that's literally everybody that walks by you pretends to not even see you? Yeah. Again, don't do anything unsafe. Like, don't engage with somebody that's clearly like, this violent outbursts. But do acknowledge and say hi. Easy internet search for places that are doing food distribution in your region. Slightly more challenging in rural areas, which is why I direct your attention to like maybe joining a club or joining a group or joining a class. I'll talk about learning and community a little bit later, but that's just something to consider. Okay. There are, in New York City, there's something called the exact name of it is escaping because Skylar, I think you said you're in NYC. There is I don't know that you would be interested in this particular one or that you, but they have meals for Asian elders that are culturally aligned. So they might, I know, it's so sweet. It started during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they would get a bunch of people together. It started out at somebody's house before they started being able to use, it got bigger and they started using community centers and like school cafeterias, stuff like that. They'd get together and they'd make like Taiwanese chicken. With that, there's a particular chicken and rice dish that is very specific and iconic of Taiwan. And they'd make it and they'd write on the distribution bags in the language of the region and draw little like pictures on it and then give them to elders who are too scared to leave their homes on a regular basis to get groceries or food. And you could sign up. It was like that you get matched with an elder, you get like matched with a grandparent, and it's so sweet. And so you'd like go, and sometimes you'd have a conversation with the elder. Sometimes they would just like crack the door open and be like, "Thank you," right? And then they take it, but then they get this meal bag that has the name of it and like have a good meal and like we love you and like take care of yourself, whatever, like written in the language that maybe they hadn't heard spoken for a long time and just cry immediately. Anyways, so those kinds of things exist. Quickie internet search, and if it doesn't occur in your if nothing pops up in your region, I highly recommend that you start doing something. A protein bar and a bottled water and a piece of fruit. That's it. It could just be bottled water, a piece of fruit. That's it. It could be something even like a juice box, right? It could be there's an app called Too Good to Go, and you can buy like discount pastries from coffee shops and bakeries like after 5 p.m. when they're not going to sell them anymore. And you can do a distribution that way with things that are very, very low cost or even free. So there's ways to do it. I hope this conversation is getting your gears turning about like how if you have an evening free, you could get together with a bunch of friends and this could be your hangout plan instead of watching Game of Thrones again. Just saying. Okay. Um, just kidding. I don't think anybody else here has actually watched Game of Thrones. Have you? I don't know. Yeah, it just no. Oh God, no. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, okay, okie dokie. I love Peter Dinklage. Just gonna say that. Okay, trace the root. What is trace the root? I'm gonna go to learning community first because I'm kind of already there. Taking a community class, there is nothing more humbling than taking a class in something that you suck at. So like crochet, Hawaiian language. I am currently enrolled in something, I think it's, oh gosh, what is it called? I should have written down all of these things. I just told myself I would remember and I don't. I think it's the People's Forum. Every summer does a free online course called Socialist Summer School. And it traces like different forms of socialism and like makes clear distinctions between, say, anarchism, which I am also a student of, socialism and communism, and like these various forms of collective, like human dignity, government slash non-government in the case of anarchism, and like all the writers and stuff, and all the ways that it succeeded and failed, and like ways that we might be able to put projects into the world. Is this one of my homework assignments? Doing this Zoom right now? I don't know, maybe. Like it's an opportunity to sit in community and go like, okay, we're all learning about this. We're all students of this because I sure as shit did not learn this in my K through 12 standardized education as provided by the United States. Okay, like I was not taught how to build mutual aid networks and to have critical care conversations and to trace the root from my mundane everyday actions to collective liberation. I was not taught that. I was taught the fucking Pythagorean formula. Oh no, I'm seeing the faces. I'm seeing the faces on Zoom that are like, oh God, I relate to that and I wish I couldn't. Yeah, I wasn't taught how to garden. I wasn't taught how to grow my own food or to mend my own clothes. I wasn't even taught how to take care of my own teeth or skin or poop. I see a doctor for that. I don't trust him for shit either, but I see him. You know what I'm saying? So learning in community, there are so many things that you can learn in community, and because of the explosion of online education, accidental gifts given to us by the COVID-19 pandemic, actually no. Gifts given to us by the resilience and tenacity of the human spirit under extraordinary fucked up situations. Okay? You can go naturopathic skincare and take a class gardening for beginners and take a class socialism for highly educated idiots. Stephanie, take a class, okay? I highly recommend that you pair this learn in community initiative with action. So this is not white lady anti-racist book club. Sorry, not sorry. This is doing something in an active way that participates in the community for the betterment of all of us as a collective. Yeah. And I'm not saying don't join your book club. Join your book club. Just make sure you have an action list that you hold each other accountable to also. Okay. Alrighty. Learning community, would love to hear if you have any specific things that you enjoy learning in community with or about, or resources to share with any of us, especially if they're online. Some suggestions from me, going back to improv class. because that is all about communicating with strangers under duress. But you get to have comedy at the end of it, so it's somewhat rewarding. There's also food share or any kind of neighborly interaction could be a learning community thing. Just like, hey, one of the ways I made friends with one of my neighbors is she was going to a bonsai tree trimming activity that her bestie couldn't go to. And it was like super last minute, and she was just like, hey, do you want to trim a tree? And I was just like, I don't have a ladder. And she was just like, no, we're going to go to a brewery and cut jade plants into little aesthetic whatever. And I was like, okay, can I pay for this ticket? And she's just like, no, oh my god, just take it. I'm so glad to have somebody to go with because I really want to go. My bestie didn't even really want to go, and if you're willing to go, I'd just be relieved. And I still have the tree a year later. It's great. Didn't kill it. Woohoo. Learning community. Okay, now we're at the biggest one. This is trace the root. And this is where I need some participation from the peoples. Trace the root. This is how do your everyday mundane actions get traced all the way to collective liberation. And this can be sticky because there's lots and lots of caveats, and I will do my very best to not name all of them, as my Libra rising just wants to be so people pleasy and so like rooted in justice that I take care of every single caveat and exception. In the interest of time, however, I'll just say that every day, this is an example, every day when I drink my matcha sweetened with honey, it is matcha from Mizuba Tea Company, which is a woman-owned, I think based in Oregon, collective that has direct relationships with farmers in the Uji region of Japan. This matcha costs exactly the same as the other matcha that I like. Okay? So I'm not doing anything like, I'm not like spending more to do the right thing. Like, nope, my budget is my budget. I don't make a lot of money. Okay? This honey is local honey that was given to me by a friend who has bees on the big island of Hawaii. And if I run out of that honey, I just won't use any. Because that's seasonality, baby. So the way I am nourishing myself, I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm so like wonderful and fucking whatever, because I'm about to tell you what I order on the Amazon next. I'm saying that this nourishes me in a particular way, and this nourishes my spirit in a particular way that other kinds of matcha and other kinds of honey don't. And if I truly believe in a world in which we can all be collectively free, I must believe that one of us is going to have bees and an excess of honey. And I will benefit by that. And I'm not even friends with the person with the bees. I'm friends with her friend. And that's how much honey abounds for all of us. There's a ripple impact. And maybe I'll switch my tea brand. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Okay, but I ordered some stuff on Amazon. This is my notebook. Okay, I have like lots of colorful. Do you see this? This is single-use plastic. I can't refill most of this. These I can. I discovered these when I was in Japan doing some ancestral. I travel for reasons, you know, like I'm trying not to travel just for pleasure. I travel because I have work or because I have community there that has requested my presence there. And I started using these pens while I was in Japan, and I can't find them local to where I live, so I fucking order them on Amazon. It doesn't make me a worse or better person. Because nothing can replace how this feels to me. And if they stop making it, I'll stop ordering it. But as long as they're making it, these refills, I'm going to order that shit in the way that I know how. Because every moment, I spent like an hour researching for like where else I could get it. And I was like, that is an hour that I could have been doing food distribution. That is an hour that I could have been talking with a friend. That is an hour that I could have been hanging out at my local cookbook store. And instead I spent an hour trying to do the right thing and failing. So I just ordered that shit on Amazon now. And I feel bad about it every time. I do. I'm just like, God damn it. So if you relate to that at all, I just want to put that in the conversation as well. That moral purity is an illusion. It is a form of perfectionism and it is a trap. If I run out of contact solution and it's a matter of risking an eyeball infection or ordering or purchasing from somewhere like Target that I don't want to support, I'm going to go buy it. You know? So just to put that very human note here, that even with best intentions, we only have the options that capitalism allows us to have. And that's why clubs are important and knowing your neighbors are important, is because when there's more of us, even just two of us is more than one of us, we have bigger decision-making power, we have more options, we have more leverage. Okay. I'm gonna let you all stew with that. I'm gonna scroll up and we'll do more tracing the root in just a moment here. All right, question from Skylar, top of the chat here. I'm especially interested in showing up or contributing in a way that doesn't feel like social media optics. I know performative, in quotes, is something that's thrown around a lot, but I do feel conscious of it. I have the hottest of hot takes on this, and I'm so glad you asked this question, Skylar. I just ask for all of us to kind of take a deep breath and be like, ooh, Stephanie's about to have the hottest take. Okay. You're always performing. Get over it. Yeah. And I say this as an actor. I'm playing fucking Hamlet. Okay. And I'll show you photos if we have time at the end. It's great. We just got our production photos in and they're stunning. You're performing all the time. I say this also as a person who was diagnosed autistic at about 4 years old. So my entire life, like everybody's just like, oh, everybody's neurodivergent now. I'm just like, well, almost 40 years. So I'm 42 now. And like I was wetting my pants until I was like 12. You know what I'm saying? Like this wasn't, it's still not easy. Sometimes when I go to Costco, I end up sobbing in between like the pallets of snacks in the middle because I get overstimulated. And then I'm fine. Like after I sob, I'm fine. Anyhow, I say this, but I mention this because I'm masking all the time. I don't even know who I am when I'm not masking. Does that make sense? Like my entire life, I've been trying to figure out what I'm supposed to sound like and how I'm supposed to act and what I'm supposed to say. And every one of those decisions is excruciating if I let it be. But at some point, I'm just like, this is the best I know how to do. Fuck it. Sometimes I forget to smile and I don't realize until the person is like, are you mad at me? And I'm just like, sorry. Performative is something that's thrown around a lot by people who have atrophied compassion muscles or exhausted compassion muscles. And I do not fault them for being tired of trying to figure out who's authentic and who's not, because there's a lot of bullshit in the world. I try not to let that impact my behavior though. Someone could call me performative, and that's fine with me. At the end of the show, at the end of Hamlet, one of our actors, we're standing in a line, right? We take the final bow. One of our actors says, hey, the Hawaii Shakespeare Festival is funded in part by ticket prices, but a lot by donations. If you wouldn't mind, please like put a $1 or $100 in this donation bin, and we would be so grateful. That is a performance. Sometimes he doesn't feel like making the speech. It's not authentic for him to ask for money. We don't feel grateful because we're just like, fuck you guys. You know what I mean? Like that was a rough show, like whatever. But he'll put on a smile and he'll say, we're so grateful to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. You are crucial to our mission. If you have the generosity of your heart and wallet to deliver, it's a performance. It's okay. If I can perform, if I can do a little song and dance that gets food into the bellies of people starving, being starved in Gaza, I will fucking do it. If they're just like put on this top hat and do a little soft shoe, I'd be like, great. Is this helping? I will fucking perform. So if that gives you any context, if the worst thing that someone can call me is performative, I will show up and perform every fucking day as long as I think I'm making a difference. Please don't let other people's self-consciousness impact your behavior. Yeah. Okay. Skylar, do you want to hop off mute? I saw you have a big reaction. Do you want to just talk to me for a second?
Sure. I was just typing, but yeah. Hi, everyone. And Stephanie, thank you for this space. This has been so helpful already. So I wrote that at the beginning of the Zoom. So I feel like you've kind of taken us through a different space since then. But I don't mind at all being called performative. I don't, because if I know where my actions come from and if it's from a place of authenticity, which it is, I'm not doing it for optics. I guess what I feel more conscious of now is it feels sometimes performative. I don't care about what anyone else is projecting onto me, but I just feel like we've lost our way so deeply with social media, or this is the headspace that I'm currently in, that I don't feel as though any of it is really kind of moving the needle. It feels as though comment sections just disintegrate into projections and name calling, and I'm struggling. I like to be in spaces where I can see or feel my impact, not to feed my ego, but just because I know that, then I have a bit of a purpose. I can just track that I'm making a difference in the world, and that's what I want to do. Again, not for ego purposes, just because I care about people deeply. So
Yeah.
I'm just struggling with, like, is this making a difference in on social media specifically? But as you were speaking about other ways that we can communicate and be in community with each other, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm already doing that. Like, we give food to the our local resource center. I'm in New York City right now, but I live upstate. um and I'm doing a free meditation session at the local library in the fall, and I'm finding ways to show up. So yeah, I don't know though. I
Yeah.
don't know what your thoughts are on how much social media is making a difference, you know?
Awesome. I have a little challenge for you. That is, one of the things that I am greatly combating in my work. This is going to be very specific, but I hope it's useful for more than just this moment. Um, I have like this weird aversion to people downplaying the importance of ego. I think ego is really, really, really important. And some backstory, Skylar created a meditation for me. Like, Skylar does they're called elevations, and they're custom audios that are just beautiful. And she'll do a little consult, this really profound one-on-one consult that's like, what do you need to be reminded of, kind of a thing, or like what deepening conversations do you want in your ears and your heart, like as an audio recording. And then she crafts this beautiful, like 10 or 15-minute audio experience for you that's her voice saying these things. um, and one of the most powerful things that Skylar does is she includes your name throughout the recording, and that calling forth of my name absolutely activates my ego in the most
Mm,
beautiful way, because it identifies me as an individual, like an individual thread in this massive tapestry without which would be less complete. So when you say my name in the audio recording that you created for me, my ego gets to wake up and go like, yes, that's me. And I have impact and I have agency and I have connections that will dissolve into nothingness when I cease to exist. The person that you get to be only in my presence will cease to exist. That is what we really grieve when we grieve the loss of something or someone. It's the part of you that comes alive only in that environment, only in that energy field. So, something to consider is the ways that you can healthfully nourish your ego by first noticing and embracing what it needs. And what
Mm.
I'm hearing, sort of underlying what you're saying, is that your ego, your loving, expansive, generous, service oriented, community rooted ego is like, hey, we need to fucking matter.
Mm.
And you can go, okay, ego, I will show you ways that we're making a difference. Okay, ego, I will show you communities that are uplifting in the way that we want to be also. I will show you who your peers are and not who these, you know, internet trolls are.
Thank you for that. That is really, really helpful and not something that I had considered before. And yeah, thank you for framing it in a way that is quite personal to me as well. Because yeah, like in my work, I'm doing that for other people. And I guess I maybe, as always, this is what we do, right? We pour into the world and then we kind of forget like, oh, actually that can apply to me as well. So thank you. I That's definitely something for me to consider. I appreciate that, Stephanie. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Skylar. I'm so glad you're here. Skylar doesn't do evening things, and Skylar's here.
I don't. It's
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
should be
Here and
better.
camera on as well. What a treat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
please stay on, and I'm gonna circle back perhaps in a bit, but I'm gonna move on to another question now. Awesome. Jake says, "Hi, it's so nice to see you." Uh-huh. I was wondering what you think of when aloneness feels strong in your day to day. I know it's an illusion, but sometimes it feels strong. Thank you for this question, Jake. I will just be in my fucking feels, Jake. I will just be in my feels. I will just be like, I'm the only one doing this. I'm I'm a piece of shit. I'm the only one fighting this fight. It's up to me, and then I'll like have a good cry. And then maybe 10 minutes later, maybe it's 4 hours, maybe it's a day and a half, I don't know. And then I'll just be like, okay, but I'm not alone. Right, 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 right. Okay, so that's like one answer to this question is sometimes I will just wallow, honey. I'm just gonna like fall back into the ball pit, like those ball pits at the playground. I like fall back into the ball pit and I let myself be completely buried, and I'm just like, oh, woe is me, right? Um, and when this happens, your question, Jake, specifically, when aloneness feels strong in your day to day, sometimes this will compound, right? Two things is if I have something on my calendar that pulls me out of my physical location, so that gets me out of my house or out of my room, that can be very helpful. Something that reminds me of who I am, and we talked about this at the beginning of this call, outside the strictures and structures of capitalistic role giving. Um, and although we know it's an illusion, uh, sometimes I find that battling an illusion with another illusion is actually the most effective thing. I'm going to say that again because that sounds like a weird statement. You might think, like, oh, I'm going to battle an illusion with reality. That doesn't always work because that's like trying to reason with someone who's having a bad dream, right? What you might choose to do instead is stay within the realm of illusion and go, oh, well, what if in this illusion I am alone and I'm fighting a dragon? Like, oh, does that feel different? Does that like mess with the image a little bit? Like, does that make it sort of noble and inspiring and courageous to be alone? Or maybe you're like, you're going across a one person bridge to the other side and you have to be alone because the bridge will break if it's got more than one person on it. And you use an image to inform the image, the illusion that's already running in your unconscious mind. This is something that we play with in hypnosis. So one of the modalities that I'm trained in is integrative hypnotic coaching. So like I'm graduated from the Center for Integrative Change, and it's an exciting thing to play with the images that your unconscious mind gives you, and then dancing with those images as opposed to refuting or erasing them. So something to play with. not only wallow, but play, dance, yeah, mess with, like you're a painter or a theater director, something like that. Would love to know your thoughts, Jake, how that resonates with you, or if anyone else has, if that's helped anyone else, or if anyone else is just like, that sounds terrible. I would love to enrich that um, response, my response. Okay, just scanning for more questions here in the chat. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, Jake says, love that. Thank you. Awesome. Wonderful. Anybody else have a question that you'd either like to tap into the chat or say out loud? Let's give you a moment for that. Sidebar, I know that a lot of you are taking notes. If there's a takeaway that you're willing to share with us in the chat, I would be delighted to read that out loud and also to have that as a record of the things that you found impactful over the course of our time together. As I mentioned at the beginning, it can be difficult for me to know what is impactful, what is useful, what is eye-opening or heart-opening for you on the other side of the screen, unless you tell me. Yeah? Do not trust me to make accurate assumptions. I am a very observant person, and I am frequently wrong. Shockingly, embarrassingly, frequently wrong. So please type in your takeaways. Um, you can also feel free to email me, but there's something really magical about capturing a particular thing in the moment. Yeah, any takeaways from anything that we discussed today? The 5 steps or the 5 kind of categories for radical action that we discussed in review. Ways to gather. Number 1, know your neighbors. Number 2, food slash supply slash resource distribution. Number 3, number 4 and 5, learn in community and trace the root. And we'll end with tracing the root in just a moment here after your bits come in. Okay, let's see. Skylar says, I so love what you said about exploring who we are outside of our relationship to capitalism. Yes, and to give that who you are outside of capitalism a place and a group of people and activities. Yeah. Jake says, my heart is full to hear you talk about Aloha Aina, trace the root, sacred and mundane, daily actions traced all the way to collective liberation. This is very inspiring. Yay! Hell yeah, it is. Absolutely. Teresa says, I love the addition of learning community. That's where I'm going to focus right now. Awesome. Kate says, thank you. Your presence itself is so impactful. How present you are and joyful, whether real or performative. I felt it. It's a little of both, Kate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And isn't it always? Hell yeah. Celine, I jumped in late, so I've missed a lot of this, but going to try to integrate the concept that I'm always performing, even when I don't think that I am. I love this. I can use my performing self to be impactful. Hell yeah. Celine has the most ridiculous dog named Kingsley. Celine says that she got Gucci at Goodwill when she rescued Kingsley. Kingsley, when is Kingsley not performing, Celine? And yet this is Kingsley. This is Kingsley on the Zoom screen. First of all, when is Kingsley not performing? Secondly, is that not his deepest truth? It's his truth, Celine. Yeah. Performing is his truth. And on this, the very ending week of Leo season, I just want to make sure everyone knows, like, sometimes performance is your truth. Kingsley just nodded. This message has been approved by Kingsley. Fantastic. Yes, yes, absolutely. Great. Kate says, ha ha ha, grateful for it. Indeed, amazing. Thank you, everyone. And as our last activity, gather together in circle. Let us trace the root together. You being here is an act of radical care for yourself, for everyone in this circle, for everyone that will receive the recording, and for everyone that will interact with you for the rest of this day, this week, this month, this year, and so on. You are tracing the root from your depth of care and your clarity of intention to your actions in the world. And of course, you are going to fuck up and you are going to hurt feelings and you are going to make mistakes. Surely I have said some things that have been a little fucked up, or maybe have hurt your feelings, or maybe have been a mistake. I certainly forgot a number of names that I thought I would remember. And is that disrespectful? Kinda. But I hope you can feel my intention anyway, to be as clear as I can be, though I am human, to be as wholehearted as I can be, though I am human, to be as authentic and loving as I can be, though I am human. And our efforts are necessarily just a little distorted from what my intentions are inside and what my expression is outside. So as we trace the root of our intentions, as we trace the root of our efforts, we're also acknowledging that just like in a single strand of thread, there are knots and burrs and frayed edges, we combine to create a resilient and beautiful, expansive tapestry, such that these bumps and imperfections are smoothed out, and as a whole, we are much more than the simple sum of our parts. Without our imperfections, we would have less texture, and that texture is what gives our collective such richness. Trace the root, map the change, and I'll see you next time, maybe. I feel like this went pretty well. You will always find these recordings on my YouTube channel. I find that's the easiest way to distribute this for free, because these kind of like fireside chats are no cost. I also highly, highly recommend you share them out to your channels and people should you find them useful. And you don't need to ask my permission for that. They're free. They're on YouTube. They're on a public space. Just share willy-nilly. Also, because I don't get paid, if you feel like buying me a coffee or a matcha, as is more appropriate, or otherwise, probably what I will do this month is pay my rent with whatever donations I receive from doing this kind of stuff. My Venmo is here. It is Venmo, Venmo, at Stephanie Keiko Kong, and my photo is on there. And like $5, $10 is fine. Hundreds of dollars also accepted, but not expected at all. And just to say, like, one of the ways that I choose to be educational and available and to pour my heart into the world is through community work like this. So anything, any good vibes you can send my way are also abundantly, deeply appreciated. Thank you so much, everyone. Yay! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Have a great one, everybody.